But I think, we're not quite prepared to do replacement housing for the high rise. I mean, we need to get our New Horizons project off the ground and rolling and get some financing lined up, and there's lots to do before we can actually get the approval to do the Section 18. That doesn't, and then we're told we have as much time as we need to actually to follow through on it. So we'll just get the approval.
We don't have to resubmit it or.
Right.
No, once it's been that it's been approved by HUD that this is the action that's gonna be taken for this property, we have indefinite time to set up. All they're very, very concerned about is the tenants, have somewhere to go, or there's a voucher in place. They're more worried about that than what actually, at that point, what happens to the building. They don't really have a concern anymore at that point. So
we just need to get all that in place where we've got, some certainty of what's gonna become of the tenants.
we're trying to be proactive because we've worked with HUD before. It could be, when they say 6 months, it could be a year, and if they say it's 2 years, it could be 10 years. So, just stay ahead of it. From what we've been told, as long as we get this in place, there isn't gonna be something within so many weeks, months, years you have to complete this. It's pretty much an open-end deal. And it's been more because this program's been used, I believe, everybody's aware, they took all the housing down in St. Louis, Detroit, and all the big, this is what they used. And
Section
so,
18.
yeah,
Okay.
and so the regs were written because how do you replace 18 city blocks all at one time? So for our advantage, they didn't put a set timetable to this program, so.
So in terms of looking long-term, being proactive, what are our thoughts on where the current tenants go with it in terms of?
Well, I think what we, very generally, something like Crossroads we put together, where that's an 80-unit building, maybe 80 or 90-unit building, and do it over a 2-year phase, 2 phases. And we can use a 9%, Crossroads is built using 9% credits in 2 phases. We can do that, or we can do some combination of 9% and 4% credits. And hopefully, when we come out the other end, we've been squirreling funds away, so we've got reserves towards this. We can assemble enough capital that we can do a 4%, and maybe we can do it all within, build 120 units within 3 years. And then we'd have, 3 years to draw down as we open up new buildings, high-rise tenants would move in, we open up the next building, the high-rise tenants would move in. And those we can't accommodate, with new construction, give them a voucher and help them find a place to live.
So a gradual phasing a certain number out and
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts for a timeline? If we're gonna, the main first priority would be the RAD project, New Horizons and Pioneer, where you see this one coming in.
Probably 2018.
Okay, then my next question is, as far as
Maybe
repairs
2017.
and, okay, so 2017 is next year.
Yeah.
Will still be viable, for lack of a better word.
Well, we just keep putting Band-Aids on until we,
We've looked at this a lot. I don't see any way we can facilitate this any quicker, just because of the issue of the number of people involved. It's just, and I think the first thing we want to do is do New Horizons and Pioneer so we can get that up, and I think pretty much the timeline, if we can get that out so we can bid over next winter. So we're not getting aced out of contractors in the spring.
plus we'll earn development fee from those projects that we can bring into the high-rise project.
Yeah. So we're, one stage at another, we gotta feed off of one thing to the next thing. So, as far as the high-rise, hopefully spring of 18, we'd be starting on a building for the
On
high-rise.
the first building, and then, You know, and that's not really been occupied for nearly a year.
Yeah.
And, I mean, how many Band-Aids do we have?
Well,
And what size?
they've been doing a pretty good job over there. You know, we've gone to some, I don't know what else you want to call it, but evasive maneuvers. We started now where I've had our contracted plumber come in, and we've been, you know, tearing some more walls open, and then Randy and Andy have been putting it back. Just to maybe hold it together a little longer, you know. It seems like some of it's worse than other.
Spots within the building? Any reason for that, just out of curiosity?
The only thing we can, you know, contribute to is, again, cast iron is cast iron. And, you know, some of it, over time, people have used drain cleaners, back to wonderful black liquid. And that was probably the worst thing you could ever put into a cast iron pipe. Because the acid basically takes, cast iron pipe is supposed to get a membrane, we'll call it, as it's used. It's like copper forms a crust inside when the water goes, and so does cast iron. And when you introduce a heavy acid like that eats that away, well, now you're re-exposing. It'd be like every time you used your cast iron skillet, and you took and you scrubbed every drop of the seasoning out of it, you'd eventually wear that pan a lot longer than if that stayed in there. That's the best way I can explain it, you know. And so it's just been just the way things go. We're not the only ones, you know. I've been to stuff too and talked to other places that have this age buildings, and they have the same issues. They're up against where we gotta replace the plumbing pipes. It's either that they use steel, which is even worse than cast iron, in the wall fixture stuff. And then they had also iron water pipes. So all the iron water pipes have a hole in it about the end of your pen, so you know, how do you get water